Hi, my dear Astro family. So today we are going to be looking at the upcoming lunation, which is going to be taking place on the 27th of April. And this is a Taurus New Moon. And this one is, I believe, super important because it's going to feature the Pluto-Mars opposition. So let's just have a look at what we are going to be discovering in this video. So I'm going to give you a general overview about the meaning of the Taurus archetype so that you can place that into your own chart. Secondly, we are going to be looking at the Pluto-Mars opposition. Now, I did make a weekly forecast where I was speaking about the the last quarter moon phase and how it is connected to the Pluto-Mars opposition. So basically, I'm not going to re-record that. I'm going to take out that little segment from that video. So don't get confused by me talking about the last quarter moon phase. The reason why it was super important because the moon was in conjunction to Pluto. It was in square to the sun in the sign of Taurus. It was opposing Mars. And Mars was in conjunction to an asteroid called Pandora as well. And the sun is actually in conjunction to Isis. And therefore, oh, and then we had Black Moon Lilith in the sign of Scorpio. So basically, we had a Grand Cross formation. Now, the reason why I decided not to re-record the entire video, because yes, the moon is, of course, not in Aquarius anymore, but things started to kickstart with that last quarter moon phase. So this is the reason why I'm just going to be chipping in that part of the video in here. So I gave there quite a deep discovery about the Pluto-Mars opposition. So I hope you enjoy that. And then at the end, I'm going to be breaking this down for the 12 signs as well. Now, if you would like to get weekly forecasts, then you can join my YouTube membership or you can go on my website as well. And then you can just sign up and then you will get weekly breakdowns, weekly forecasts for each signs, a general overview as well. Altogether, this is usually about 2.5 hours worth of information. And I've got an announcement to make, actually two announcements to make. One is that I am starting a Ultimate Saturn course. It's going to be 20 weeks, going through the karma part of Saturn, the responsibility part of Saturn, Saturn in signs, houses, aspects. So you will get plenty of information about Saturn. So if that's something that you are interested in, you might want to sign up on this course. It's going to start on the 5th of May, so it's right at the corner. I hope to see you there. Now, let's get going with this Taurus archetype. So, Taurus is a fixed sign, and fixed means that it always wants to build something or stabilize something. It's an earth sign, so it represents the material world, something that is practical, something that we do on a daily basis. This is a feminine sign, by the way, which means that it accepts, assimilates. Often it represents the inner world, but also it represents having to slow down as well, having to be patient also. This is the spring season, so it carries the blossoming part as well. Of course, if you think about the spring, the flowers are starting to be beautiful and the nature becomes more greenery and so on. And it is ruled by Venus. Now we've got three archetypes that I would associate Taurus with. Either the banker, who is very much focused, of course, on the financial part of the world. Then we've got the lover, and that would be all about the sensual part of Taurus. And then we've got those people who work on fields. So they want to do something with nature. And a couple of things about Taurus. They never give up on things that has been tested. So it's all about using the tested method and then see how far it can take us. It is still the first quadrant of the chart, so it would represent self-entitlement as well as protection. So what Taurus does, it protects their assets. In the sign of Aries, we became aware of our own talents and individuality, and in the sign of Taurus, we start protecting those. It is all about comfort, possessiveness. Sometimes the problem with Taurus is that it has got issues of getting out of the comfort zone. And the exalted ruler of Taurus is actually Moon. So it has got a lot to do with traditions. And often it gets stuck in the past, remembering how good the past was, and so forth. Taurus is all about pleasure. It's all about assimilation. So often they want to be accepted and loved by others as well. In the sign of Aries, we had the strength to do something right now. And Taurus is going to start working on keeping on it. So it's going to slow down a little bit and then looking at, okay, how can I protect my assets? And I think the spiritual message with Taurus is how to be at peace with themselves. They are not looking for new adventure anymore. They are very cautious, especially if a new thing come around. It starts collecting things and then they place them in a safe place. So there is a lot of practical way of thinking coming with Taurus. And but you might want to ask yourself, what is it good for? All the things that I've collected in life so far, because often what happens is that it piles up, for example, in the fridge. So often the message with Taurus is that we're going to have to do a bit of a decluttering as well. And it really feels like with Taurus at one point in our lives, we have to answer this question. Where did we start accumulating things that is not needed anymore? What do you hold on to? We need to be looking at whether those objects or assets or even people serve us or not. And also, Taurus often represents tangible things, something that we can actually keep close to our chest. And, because the opposing sign is Scorpio, which is the representation of poison. Often we keep something too close as well that might be actually poisonous to our environment, to our subconscious, and so forth. Because this is a feminine sign or more of a passive sign, it has got the tendency to look at the past rather than the future. And having Uranus here, it also, even though it is not connected to the new moon, but the message would be there that we're going to have to be able to kind of like move forward. We're going to have to be able to upgrade something in our lives as well. Now, I could be talking about the mythology of Taurus, but I don't want to kind of bore you with that. So I'm trying to make this video as kind of like practical as possible. And, with Taurus situations, like when you are building something, when you do gardening, when you even do art, or you build a fence, for example, around the house, because that's the sign of protection, right? So often this is the something to do with the walls as well. Do you need that fence around your house, or do you feel that people are never going to attack you? So there is that element of fear as well. But even cooking or making cakes, bakery, hospitality industries could belong to Taurus as well. Or simply when you are doing yoga or when you are making love, something that is making you feel better. Or you do this mud therapy, or you are creating clays, for example, or you are repeating certain type of mantras. All these are Taurian activities because there is the new moon there, and the new moon tends to weaken the body a little bit. I would like to mention that Taurus rules anything to do with chiropractoring or teeth therapy, aromatherapy, but it represents certain type of habits as well, especially dietary habits. Or it's going for a massage, enjoying life to the fullest. Or when you're going on a wine tasting or food tasting, kind of like ceremony or sessions, that could be also something to do with Taurian matters. Let's have a look at some positive meanings of Taurus. So Taurus looks after things. It doesn't want things to be destroyed. It wants its things to be in an original state. It is polite, it is protective. This is a fertile sign. And it's quite traditional, as mentioned earlier. It tends to be putting things in safety. Some of the negative side of Taurus is that it's very possessive. Sometimes it struggles to share, or it has got trust issues, or unable to let go of things. Therefore, it's hoarding. But you can really rely on Taurus. Taurus is super patient, super loyal. Usually, it's a very respectful sign as well. And it's very financially aware. It doesn't want to take huge risks. It wants to belong to someone. It doesn't prefer idealism much. It's a little bit more on the conservative side. But from a negative point of view, it has got a slow way of thinking. Sometimes it's stiff. It's kind of like the stiff neck syndrome. And often it's overly romantic as well, but more of a realistic way, though. So when Taurus is in love, it is really in love. It's sometimes in love, kind of like until the end. It can become jealous. It could be super stubborn and envy as well, but it's quite a thrifty sign as well. So, what fields Taurus can impact? I mean, finance, food industries, even construction, real estate, animal-related jobs, investments can be influenced by Taurus, but even something to do with body-related jobs as well, such as massage and all those type of stuff. Now, from a spiritual perspective, Taurus is all about feeling safe. They are afraid if something can be missing, so they tend to hoard, nothing is enough, afraid of losing something or someone. They cannot let go of things. If I have money, I am someone. So often this sign is associated with net worth versus the self-worth issues. They have to realize that not everything can be bought. Money is not everything. I mean, at the end of the day, it's super important for Taurus to have a property or a land, to owe something, to have a saving account, for example, but very protective towards their properties as well. So if you live in my property, these are my rules, and those rules need to be followed, and potentially don't touch things because maybe you ruin them and I'm going to have to kind of like replace those, and it could be quite a challenge, right? Some of the scripts that Taurus has is it kind of repeats certain sentences to itself. I can be on my own. I don't need anyone. I don't need to rely on others. Um, or once upon a time, so they remember the past. Or because what they think is that we're never gonna go back where we came from. And obviously that's the womb. So they are super realistic about where they come from and where they are heading. I would say that with Taurus, it wants to teach you that the environment around you needs to be protected. Sometimes it's better to live in play a peace or to live in peace as well. It's all about having to assimilate with others. It's maybe reconnecting with the nature as well, because nature might be boosting our own energies. Excuse me. So with this Taurus new moon, it really feels like that we're going to have to look at what is stable in our lives, what has got endurance, what is real around us. This is all about reality. Um, what I mean by reality is that we're going to have to be able to look at whether the foundations that we've laid to our lives are actually super real, or are they created out of fear, for example. Even it could be super important to look at whether you express yourself in the truest form as well to others. Why is that? Well, one of the reasons why self-expression would be super important in this matter is because the dispositor of this Taurus new moon is Venus. And Venus is, even though it's in the sign of Pisces on 28 degree, but it is making a conjunction to Saturn. And sure, and Venus is still in shadow period. Shortly after this, it's going to be moving into the sign of Aries, which is one of the signs that is connected with individuality. But with the Saturn-Venus conjunction, it's all about the test of love, the test of pretty much how much we are feeling valuable, how much we feel that we can be loved, or because Capricorn is something to do with the structure or boundaries, but also it's the sign of dedication as well. So it really feels like with Venus, sometimes we might feel that love is such a hard job. Love is a serious commitment. Love takes time to develop. So we approach love from a practical point of view. And because Saturn represents duty and Venus is pleasure, often what it feels like is that we are not allowed to have fun. And Saturn represents also um, a family legacy. So often I would say that here we might need to be able to look at whether the family legacy that we grew up in is actually giving us the right strong foundation that we need, or maybe we need to be able to rebuild foundation. Of course, from a money perspective, that Saturn-Venus conjunction will talk to you about the burden of money, the burden of not having enough money. In a way, being worried about having money or not. Now, Venus is making not only a conjunction to Saturn, but the North Node as well. So it clearly shows to us that we are thinking about how to grow more money. Where does the money grow? Is it on trees, or am I going to have to get out there and then try to make this money somehow? It's also interesting because Venus is kind of like the food with Taurus, and Saturn represents starvation. So imagine that love is making you feel hungry, or love making me feel suffer, or love makes me suffer. Or what type of boundaries love creates to me. What are the rules in our love life? Who is allowed to be loved? Who is not allowed to be loved? Or I am told what I'm allowed to do. I was told to marry a certain type. I'm not allowed to date a particular person. This Saturn Venus archetype could actually talk to us about that as well. Or it's the fear of being in poverty, or the fear of being approached because I have money. So, am I getting loved for the right reason? And love and money sometimes can be mixed up in the psyche with this combination. If you think about Venus in Pisces, it's all about the ultimate goal is to be uniting with someone that we truly love. Now, Saturn does have a planetary joy in the 12th house. So Saturn comes with sacrifices, having to give up on something. So maybe with that Saturn Venus, it feels like that I have to sacrifice money, for example, in order for me to grow, or I have to sacrifice myself as a woman. And I have to be doing something that maybe is not my cup of tea. So I think this Taurus new moon is an invitation to have a little bit more pleasure in life as well, though. Now, with this Taurus new moon, I mean, we do have got a Mars and Pluto opposition. So as I said, I will be cutting a part of the video into the picture, but I also want to mention a couple of things about it before I'm going to be placing that little part of the video in here. This is the final kickoff between Mars and Pluto. It's an opposition, so it shows certain type of attention, something that is going to be getting highlighted for us. And potentially you're going to be feeling this Mars-Pluto opposition a good 5 days before and the 5 days after. So I would say that the entire new moon is pretty much about this opposition, basically. And one of the things that it surely wants us to look at is whether we are resistant about something. Are we resistant to move towards the future? And that would be Pluto in Aquarius. Or are we just remembering what has gone down in the past with the Taurus part? And maybe we don't have the bravery to move forward something super exciting because Mars in the sign of Leo, it wants to take a risk. Or maybe also we have got certain type of values and we start questioning those. And this new moon really feels like that even though we know that our values are not necessarily serving our needs, we might not be able to go towards maybe some shady things and so forth, just because out of, like questioning the integrity of yours. And resistance also sometimes connects to the past, especially with this Pluto-Mars opposition, because we might have got burned a good 7 months ago. So as I said, this is the third one, the final opposition between them two. Now, Mars represents our will. It represents something that we want, something that matters to us, something that gets us out of the bed in the morning, pretty much motivates us, let's say, to get to work. And what Mars wants in the sign of Leo is all about expressing individuality. It wants to be celebrated, it wants to be cherished, it wants to be having kind of like an applause that we did a good job. And also maybe with Mars in and Pluto connections, something is making us angry. And with Mars, we get angry when things are not happening the way that we want. Now, this is coupled with a Taurus new moon, which is super stubborn. So there are certain sets of ways of doing things, and I get somehow angry that things are not following the rules in my house. Now, Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. So while Mars is representing our willpower, Pluto is the collective willpower. So on one hand, surely this Pluto-Mars opposition represents that we're going to have to get together because we're going to get stronger together. But also, Mars in Leo is very afraid of what if someone is going to overshadow me? And remember that I was talking about Taurus scripts. And one of the things I mentioned was that Taurus thinks that I can only rely on myself. I really believe that this entire new moon is all about looking at whether we accept reality or we tend to be resisting what is going on in our lives. Or do we accept what is happening right now, or are we trying to create a better future? Sometimes at Pluto, it's important to remember to let go of things as well. Even though this is not the planet that is connected to letting go, but the reason why I want to talk about that is because often with Pluto, Mars, we push, we fight, we we force something. And then if you are punching someone in the head, they're gonna punch you back. So it creates a bigger tension. So sometimes it's just walking out of a situation rather than again being stubborn about it and trying to protect something that is your own ideology. Or you might feel like that this is mine and I have to be able to protect this. So it really feels like with this aspect, it's going to be very important to look at how much you are aware of your own power or how much you deny that we all have got the strength. Now, I made a video with Clifford about Saturn in the sign of Aries, and one thing that he mentions in the video, it's going to get posted at the beginning of May, by the way. So if you are interested, please check back on my YouTube channel. But one thing that he said was that this is about taking responsibility, that responsibility lies on the individual. And we cannot blame others because, of course, we are shifting from Pisces into Aries. And in Pisces, one of the major topics is all about victimhood. And this new moon, I think, kickstarts that. Just because the dispositor of this new moon, Saturn, Venus, are in the sign of Pisces. So are you looking at yourself as a poor me, or are you able to entangle yourself from all these fears or detach yourself from all these fears and so forth so that you can go further? So this is the reason why there is no point in trying to bend reality anymore. We're gonna have to see what's right in front of us. We're gonna have to get real. We're gonna have to be able to look into the mirror and blame the self. You're gonna have to be able to be willing to move forward, but it's not necessarily taking a huge risk. Maybe doing that slowly but surely. And maybe also with Venus being in the sign of Pisces, often what we want to do is that we are trying to impress others. Or with Pluto and Mars, we are trying to convince others that this is the right path. And the path that is right for you is not always right for others. So you're gonna have to be able to remember that. So let me put in the video um, about this Grand Cross video that I made for my weekly Patreons. And then right at the end of the video, I'm going to be actually breaking this down for the 12 signs as well. Oh, by the way, one other thing that came to my mind actually, and surely I want to quickly touch base on that. Because while Venus, though, in the sign of Pisces, making a conjunction to Saturn, it does make a trine to Juno as well in the sign of Scorpio. So, with Mars and Pluto opposition, we see these external forces. So, Pluto, let's say the government, the society, Aquarius, other people are forcing us. And whatever they are telling us, we show resistance or anger towards it. Or we feel like that we are not getting the attention. And there is no other way but to become violent about it. Okay. Or maybe with that Mars, we're gonna have to be able to kind of like fight back our own fears and shadow sides. We're gonna have to be able to acknowledge that we all have got something to lose. We all have got something to be afraid of. Now, obviously, Pluto represents death. So it doesn't mean that someone is going to die. I tend to see that more often with Saturn. From an astrological research point of view, you would be shocked, but Saturn is the number one death planet. Jupiter is number two, and Pluto is only number three. So looking at death charts, but let me not go into that, okay? Now, what happens is that it really feels like with this Mars being in Leo, what we are afraid of is that that basically we are going to get ignored. And this is something that I'm going to talk about by having the Black Moon Lilith in the picture as well. So there's a lot of fear about losing power. Now, why did I want to summarize on that? The reason why, because Venus in Pisces trine Juno actually can indicate that because we are so afraid of losing power, we are making these contractual agreements with someone. Maybe it's going to be about protection, maybe it's going to be about a financial agreement, and so forth, because we might feel that somehow we are going to be benefiting from it. And a trine is beneficial, so we can benefit from it. But because Venus conjunct Saturn, it really feels like that there is doubt there. Am I making the right decision? So with this Pluto-Mars opposition, it started on 3rd of November 2024. And it happened in the sign of Cancer, Capricorn. We had the second one, 3rd of January 2025, but that happened in Leo, Aquarius. And then now we've got this Pluto-Mars opposition. Because Venus went retrograde in the sign of Pisces as well in January. So I would recommend that you look at what went down from January onwards in your life so that you can kind of like have a feeling what this might be about. Now, with this Venus and Juno trine, it looks like that we are making an agreement about accepting a certain type of situation, but somehow there is commitment there. So we are committing that, let's say, we are going to be in partnership. And also, this trine is the third one. Very interestingly enough, we had the first trine on the 30th of January, 2025. We had one on March 24th. And then we've got the trine happening between Venus and Juno again, of course, on the 26th, 27th of April. So what I'm trying to show you here is that things are building up. Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Now, let me put in the video that I made for my Patreons. I hope you will enjoy that. That will give you a lot of descriptions about, further descriptions about the Mars, Pluto, Black Moon, Lilith, and Pandora. And then after, I'm going to be breaking this down for the 12 signs. Starting on the 21st of April. So we are right at the end of the week. And to be frank, we do have got quite a busy week ahead of us. Because we have got Pluto and Mars opposition building up. And we also have got a Saturn and North Node conjunction. And Venus is actually playing quite a important role this week because it's making multiple aspects. But let's break that down. First up is the 21st of April. We have got a last quarter moon phase actually happening in Aquarius. And that's very interesting. And I want to talk about this because this is actually reigniting the entire moon opposition with the moon opposing Mars, but moon is actually making a conjunction to Pluto as well at the same time. So what it means is that we do have got a lot going on, right? So what is the last quarter moon phase to start with? Well, we've got the moon and the sun in square. And a square would be the representation of a certain type of a crisis situation. And often we want to be liberating from something. And some of the topics that popping up with that is money, habits, but also our physical body. So something, because obviously the sun is in the sign of Taurus, we are questioning the stability here. And then we've got moon in Aquarius, which is a little bit feeling like restless. It wants to break free. So it wants to break free from certain type of habits. It wants to break free from all these situations that are taking place, for example, in our little world. But we do have got a Pluto and Moon conjunction happening as well at the same time, which is the representation of fears. So you might feel paralyzed. You might feel somehow blocked. You might feel overpowered. You might feel like that someone is actually trying to take control of you. It can feel like, because we've got quite a lot of fixity going on, of course, we've got the Pluto and Mars opposition building up, which I'm going to be talking about in a short while. But that would talk to you about that it feels like nothing is moving forward. Everything is too stagnant. Or simply you are stuck in your own comfort zone. Now, when you look at that, obviously both planets, both the sun and the moon, are in aspect to Mars as well. So with this moon and Mars, often there is a reaction going on. So we are reacting. It's kind of like people are pointing at me. I'm not allowed to celebrate. I'm not allowed to party. I'm not allowed to be happy. I'm not allowed to be looked at, and so forth. And then that type of feeling can become unbearable. It could become frustrating. And then we start pushing people away, or simply because no one is listening to me, no one is focusing on me in a way, then I start somehow trying to grab the attention of others. That I'm also here. I'm allowed to be listened to. I'm allowed to be cherished. I'm allowed to be kind of like flaring up. I'm allowed to be angry as well. So why are you telling me to kind of calm down? Because somehow I'm angry. I'm allowed to express my anger. But then Pluto is there, right? Which is somehow blocking us right now. And Pluto in Aquarius can also feel like that. You know what? We need to get together as a society. We need to kind of build up this huge community, for example. So it could feel like that I'm not allowed to be me. And that makes you feel insecure. And the insecurity comes from Sun being in the sign of Taurus. And of course, we have got this T square formation going on. And the T square is actually pointing towards the Sun. Now, let me also mention an extra bit here that it's not only a Pluto and Moon conjunction that we've got, but also we've got Black Moon Lilith on 2 degree of Scorpio as well. So now, therefore, we have got this entire Grand Cross going on. So, what is the Black Moon Lilith, pretty much? Well, she's the taboo topics. It's something that I don't want to talk about. This is the fear of being outcasted. Oh, I'm going to get rejected. Or this is also, to a certain extent, about being stubborn. Stubborn, as in, if you think about the stories of Lilith, she was stubborn. She knew she would have had to go back to Adam because all her children got pretty much killed by Zeus. But she kind of like promised eternal revenge on men. So instead of kind of like potentially giving up on something that is not working anymore, because I got rejected, they don't respect me anymore. So I'm just going to take revenge on people. So there is the ego here with Mars in Leo, which we might not be able to put aside. We might not even kind of like think that, okay, there is the ego there, which is actually a subconscious motivation right now. And sometimes ego is super dangerous because it can become self-destructive as well. And often, of course, this is also something that is super good as well, because it could lead to kind of like a breakthrough in our lives. So Pluto is the planet of change. So having Pluto and Moon conjunction, it means that something is not working anymore. We need to make a permanent change. We should not look back anymore. Maybe that permanent change is about a job, about a habit, about our finances, and so forth. It is telling us that it's no time anymore to kind of lash out on others or blaming others. We need to somehow blame ourselves as well. Now, we do have got something that is a little bit helpful here because Mercury is making a sextile to that Pluto also. And Mercury in Aries, it's still in shadow period, but this would talk to us about sometimes we have to make a bold move. Sometimes we have to talk about something that is not allowed. Sometimes we're going to have to actually become a little bit louder. Sometimes maybe we just need to play a manipulative game. Sometimes we just have to convince people about our own truth. That Mercury is telling us that we are allowed to speak about ourselves. But because Neptune is in the picture, it also feels like we don't need to shout though. We can just do that calmly, collectively. We just need to use some very powerful words so that we are going to be listened to. So we've got this entire kind of like picture going on, and I really feel like that this is super exciting. Now, even though the Mars and Pluto opposition is just going to be happening right at the end of the week, but this lunation is highlighting the Pluto-Mars opposition. So I'm going to be talking about this right here. And of course, there is this very humanitarian side with Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. And we can even look at that aspect as in, you know what, the humans are so cruel. It's kind of like, you know what, I don't want to be talking about humans anymore. I'm just going to be focusing on animals, and the animals are, nicer creatures, and then they love ourselves or they love us the way we are, and so forth. But also somehow with the having the black moon Lilith and having this Pluto in Aquarius, often it represents minorities. Often it can represent the outcasted. So it really feels like that there is the topic here of women rights, transgender, gay people, straight people. How do I want to be called? They, them, he, she, whatever we want to be doing with this. So it looks like that's going to be a topic. And that wouldn't be a shock anyway, with Neptune being on 0 degree. Uh, and especially with Mercury, we just went through recently the 0 degree of Aries as well. I spoke about this in the past, but it looks like because Mercury is has no gender, and Neptune now being on that 0 degree of Aries as well, I think the gender questions are going to be quite big. And it really feels like that there is going to be certain type of reinforcements around it with the Pluto and Mars opposition. But this Pluto-Mars opposition is very much about why don't you see my rights? Why do I need to prove my worthiness? Why do I need to get into confrontations? Why do I need to scream, yell, and kind of like prove that I'm also a human being? I'm flesh and blood. But also, this could talk to you about that I'm also allowed to be celebrated. I also, or maybe you even ask people, how do you dare telling me that I'm not allowed to, I don't know, walk on the streets or to breathe? Why do you tell me that I have to pay taxes, for example, Pluto, for, I don't know, buying a chair, for example, at a shop, and so forth? So there is a lot of arguments going on here. There is a lot of like blaming and pointing at others. And from a psychological perspective, this is also bringing up the topic of um, that I'm tired of all the BS that is happening, and I'm gonna be attacking the system because Aquarius is a political system, and with Pluto, often there is shadiness going on. There are things happening at the background, and then Mars is kind of like trying to attract that. And I'm ready to emerge in a way from this, kind of like a little cave and so forth. And then I'm ready to hit where it hurts the most. So this week feels really intense, to be frank. I think there is a lot to mention about with Mars. Um, I mean, a lot to mention, but potentially, let's just move a little bit forward. Oh, the other actually topic that pops up into my mind is because, Pluto is in Aquarius, which is the sign of freedom. So the other question that would be coming up is that how much does it cost to be seen? How much does it cost to be not laughed at, potentially? This week, what we pretty much doing here, I know it might be a little bit confusing, but we're gonna stop here somehow. The reason why we are stopping here is because every single aspect is actually around this. So we're not gonna have an aspect on the 22nd, but the Sun and Pluto square is going to become exact on the 22nd of, sorry, 23rd of April. So everything is kind of like connecting, as you can see. So, but staying on this quarter moon phase, with this T square pattern, with Mars opposition to Pluto and then Moon in conjunction to Pluto as well. And of course, at the same time, we do have got the square happening to that Sun as well. It also can talk to us about how the like environmental pollution could become a major topic. Because the sun in sun in Taurus is always highlighting something to do with nature, something to do with Earth. And maybe this Pluto Mars opposition is an invitation that we are meant to be finally doing something about the nature. And we might be seeing some extreme weather conditions. For example, you know what? I'm in Africa. And, you can't even trust Africa anymore because you would be expecting brilliant weather. And the last few weeks, it's been like, what, 20 degrees? Nothing. I would expect already a good 30, 35. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's been just 20 degrees. There was one day when it was 38, and then that's it. So it's really interesting. And this could talk to us about some extreme weather conditions. And one of the topics that might be popping up with this is that we should not kind of like look at certain ways of making improvements in our life because we tend to be resisting change. With Pluto Mars opposition, often we are all about being paralyzed by fears and doubts and so forth. But the highest manifestation of this aspect is let's get going. Let's be brave. Let's make a change. And then when we don't want to make changes, actually we get pressurized. So we get pushed. And yes, that Pluto in Aquarius often is a reminder that we're going to have to get together with other people. We're going to have to use a raw power with Mars being there as well. It's kind of like we're going to have to use strength. We're going to have to be in conflict. We're going to have to be not avoiding any type of like snapping back or being in conflict with other nations, with other people, because we are entitled to have our own opinion. So we've got Mars in square to the Sun as well, and of course that is happening also on the 21st of April, and Mars is always pushing. And in the sign of Leo, it is all about let's take a risk. And maybe with the sun in the sign of Taurus, let's take a financial risk. Let's take a gamble. We might be losing everything. There could be the fear there with Pluto that we might lose something, but we can have a super big gain as well. And the gain couldn't be just all about finances, it could be actually your own freedom as well with Aquarius. So you could be feeling like you have to make a decision whether you're gonna take a risk and then you're gonna go after something that is truly dear to you. And maybe this is a financial goal, maybe this is a any type of plan, or am I just gonna sit tight? Am I going to be, it's kind of like a little bit of an X Factor or Britain's Got Talent type of scenario. Mars in the sign of Leo would like to, be on a stage. And Pluto, and of course, Black Moon live in Scorpio. What if I'm going to become a joke? So we are unsure about what to do. And the sun in the sign of Taurus says, you know what, you just need to appreciate your talents. You're going to have to appreciate your own abilities. If you are always in the same spot, not moving neither backwards or forward, nothing is going to be changing in your life. So this is a big reminder that maybe you have to remove the inner demons, or you're gonna have to be able to remove certain people or situation from your life who are not ready to celebrate your uniqueness. And you can be surrounded by people who are kind of like irritating you, people who pisses you off, makes you angry, people who are not kind to you, or even it could indicate that people who are not kind of like just. And then Pluto in Aquarius says, oh, let's just be friends, let's get together, let's find a solution together. But what does it cost to come up with a solution? Are we really friends? Am I really getting accepted by these people? And so forth. Or maybe is it a political move, for example? Or do people have got their own little motives? So it looks like that our differences are really highlighted. And this is a opposition anyway between Pluto and Mars. So therefore, a Pluto-Mars opposition is often about, something gets highlighted. And this is the very last or conjunction of the three. It's been going on for 6, 7 months now. So this is kind of like, it can feel like that this is the last push. Now, we do have got a Saturn and North Node conjunction happening on this day as well, but I made a separate video about that. But of course, it really feels karmic. It really feels like we have got the opportunity to move forward, but maybe with that Saturn, it feels heavy. It feels like I'm not too sure if I can pull this off. It can feel like a very strong urge, though, to go towards something new, because Saturn actually disposes Pluto. But I'm not too sure if I have the strength for it. I'm not too sure if I love myself enough. Because we do have got the Saturn and Venus conjunction happening as well this week. And in order for us to be able to push through, it looks like we're going to have to love the self first. We're going to have to be able to forgive. We're going to have to be able to make connections with others. This is a combination where we are meant to be moving forward. And leaving something behind is going to have its consequences. And sometimes it comes with unpleasant feelings. That is also somehow telling us, that yes, that moving on, moving forward is not always comfortable because there are going to be people who are somehow in the crossfire or gets caught up in the fire. And also, this might be telling us that, we don't need to be crying anymore over the spilled milk. So whatever happened, happened. That's the past. We can be, thinking about it all the time, but does that really bring solution into your life? It really feels like it won't. One other thing that I wanted to do actually, so let's have a look at that too, not reports, pages. I wanted to look at actually if we have got any asteroids. I forgot to check that one before, but I wanted to check if we have got any asteroids that might be connected to Mars or Pluto, actually. We've got Urania on 6 degree, which might be showing us that there is going to be new discoveries. A new planet is about to be discovered, or maybe it has been discovered already in the last 6, 7 months, but maybe we didn't have the clarity around them. We've got Atlantis, but I don't want to talk about that just right now. Yes, I should have looked this up before. Okay, so we do have got Isis even being in the picture. And Pandora. Mars is actually in conjunction to Pandora, and the Sun is in conjunction to Isis. Let's talk about these two a little bit. Of course, we've got the Pandora, which I want to start with. One of the reasons why I want to start with Pandora is because Pandora is pretty much featuring here um, Mars, right? And Mars is pretty much the most important planet at the moment this week. So, what is Pandora? Well, Pandora represents pretty much foolish choices. Pandora is all about um, basically consequences. You have got an action, you do something, and you're gonna have to pay for it. I mean, let's just think about what happened with, like, let's talk about the story, right? So Pandora was the very first human woman. I mean, it's interesting because obviously there are, different mythologies about which woman was the first one, so we can talk about Lilith, we can talk about Eve, or of course, now we are talking about Pandora as well. But Pandora was the very first human woman. And she got created because Zeus ordered it. And basically, Zeus wanted Prometheus, who wanted to steal the fire to the humankind, to kind of get side blinded by Pandora. And so basically, he was given this unique gift. This woman was given. And Athena gave her the clothing and she gave her the skills. Aphrodite gave her grace and charm. Mercury gave her the ability to speak, but also to be a little bit cunning and deceitful as well. Also, she got jewelries and beautiful stuff as well. And Zeus gave her a box, and she was never allowed to open the box. And Prometheus, by the way, which actually represents foreseeing, he saw that Zeus was up to something, and he even warned his own brother. Sorry, Pandora was gifted to the brother, not Prometheus. But he even warned his own brother not to accept this gift from Zeus because it's dodgy. But of course, because Aphrodite gave the charm and the grace and the beauty to Pandora, it didn't work. So basically, she was able to seduce the brother of Prometheus. And Pandora could not resist the temptation. She opened the box that she had received from Zeus. And what did we have in the box? Well, we had all type of ills, plagues, disease, war, and all these type of things. And the only thing that remained in the box was hope. So that's the story there. So often what this Pandora and Mars conjunction can actually represent that our actions have got consequences. But also it has got consequences when we do not take actions. Either way, we have to be paying. And also because Mars is all about sometimes being too brave and so much of a risk taker. And it sometimes has got the non-care attitude that we can really unleash a evil spirit onto Earth. So also this might be talking to us about that we are using our own charm or we're using our own influence in a way to be reaching or doing something that we want. So there is this cunning nature to it as well. Now, the other asteroid that we have got in the picture, as we saw, was Isis, and its astrological number is 42. And Isis is a Egyptian goddess, and it represents restoration, but resilience, and also it's something to do with bringing things together. This is something to do with kind of like restoring a previous state. So that Sun and Isis really feels like that I want to go back to an old financial system. I want to go back to a old habit, for example, that actually worked for me in the past. It's all about the creation of like a balance. It's all about fixing something. So trying to fix the finances, trying to fix the self-love, trying to fix or trying to even to forgive or like forgiving people that try to take the piss with you or try to do something wrong against you. So that is the two asteroids. And it's very interesting, by the way, that we've got Pandora, we've got Isis, we've got Black Moon Lilith, we've got so many female archetypes going on. So maybe it also carries the energy that somehow women are getting wronged here. It can feel like, and even we've got Cassandra in the picture as well, by the way, because Cassandra is making a conjunction to the Saturn and North Node conjunction, but I spoke about that in a separate video. So it really feels like that me as a woman, I'm getting wronged, I'm getting attacked for being a woman and all this type of stuff. So what does it mean to be a woman? I think that might be also coming up as a question. Okay, so I think we've spoke about Pandora as well quite a lot. By the way, Pandora was also prominent in one of the latest lunation as well. I cannot remember which lunation it was in, but it must have been in I can't remember, sorry. I would need to be checking that up, but I cannot remember now. Sorry about that. Okay, so I think pretty much we have spoken about everything that needed to be spoken about. I mean, we are on the 24th of April. That's when we have got the North Node and the Venus conjunction, but I spoke about it. This is the third of three conjunctions because obviously Venus was retrograde. And I spoke about that already with self-love and the connections and so forth. So I don't want to be speaking about that. And then on the 25th of April, we do have got Venus in conjunction to Saturn as well. So I made a separate video about it. Potentially, you want to be listening to that on YouTube. But one other aspect that we might want to be speaking about is that Venus is actually making a trine to Juno. Juno is, by the way, in Scorpio on, oh, sorry, that's my chart. Sorry about that. I don't know how I managed to get onto that chart. So Juno is on 27 degree of Scorpio, right? At the end of it, it's been recently retrograde. I spoke about that in last week's video because it went retrograde just a couple of weeks ago on 2 degree of Sagittarius. And obviously, this is going to be bringing up the topic of love big time. Juno is a marriage asteroid. Juno is a commitment, agreement, contractual agreements, something that we want to connect with or something that we want to commit to. And we're going to have to look at whether we are ready to commit to self-love. We are ready to commit to this new path, this new acceptance. We are ready to be connected to this Saturn and North Node Venus conjunction, which is all about letting the past go and then moving towards a new future. Now, let's break this down for the 12 sign. I'm going to share the screen because probably it's going to be easier to show you what is happening. So let's get started with Aries rising sign. So first of all, you have got the new moon happening in your second house. And don't worry about where the moon is because it's going to be moving while I adjusting the time clock. But this new moon would talk to you about your values, about something to do with your possessions, how you build security. So this new moon is a great time to set intentions around your finances and what truly matters to you. So maybe you have been thinking about any changes in your approach to money or how you want to feel more stable. Now, the ruler of this new moon is Venus, and Venus has got a conjunction to Saturn in your 12th house. It suggests that there might be some restrictions or limitations around your finances, possibly linked to subconscious beliefs or past experiences. It could be a good time to look at any fears or anxieties you have about money and work and how to work on releasing them. And this new moon also features the Pluto-Mars opposition. Now, Pluto is in your 11th house and Mars is in your 5th. And it gives, with Pluto, it gives a layer of intensity to this new moon. It could bring up some power struggles or conflict, especially in your social circles or creative projects. You might feel a strong urge to assert yourself, but it's important to be mindful of how you use your energy. Maybe you have been in situations where you feel a bit of a tension, or you have felt a bit of a tension lately. This new moon is a powerful time for you to focus on your values, self-worth, but also navigating some intense energies around power and creativity. Now, Mars actually in your fifth house in Leo conjuncts Pandora. And that could suggest some hidden talents or creative potentials that you are just beginning to uncover. It might also indicate a tendency to open up Pandora's box in your creative pursuit or romantic relationships, meaning you might be drawn to exploring uncharted territories, even if it comes with some risks. But with that Pluto, it's very possible that you feel pressurized to do that, or you are afraid of actually doing that. Now, with Pluto Mars opposition, there could be definitely be some power struggles or feeling restricted in expressing your individuality as well. So it might be a good time to reflect on where you might be feeling pressured or how you can find balance between asserting yourself and potentially respecting other people's boundaries as well. Now let's move on to Taurus rising sign. So this new moon in your first house is all about you. It's a powerful time for setting intentions related to your personal goals, who you are, your identity, how you want to show up in the world. Maybe you have been considering making changes you have been wanting to make in your life, or maybe you are about to start a new project. This new moon is surely a great time to focus on your personal style or how you present yourself. For example, at a job interview, what type of a name badge are you wearing? What do you want on that name badge to be written? And you might feel inspired to try a new look, update your wardrobe, or experiment with different ways of expressing yourself. It's all about embracing your individuality and feeling confident in your own skin. Now, the dispositor of this new moon is Venus, who makes a conjunction to Saturn as well as North Node in your 11th house. And that brings a focus to your friendships, to your social connections. You might be taking a more serious look at your relationship and considering which ones truly align with your values and long-term goals. It's a good time to set intentions around building a supporting and meaningful community. With Venus conjunct Saturn in your 11th, your goals and appearance might be influenced by your social circle or community. You might be drawn to a more classic or kind of like a timeless style. You could be seeking validation from others in how you present yourself. It's a good time to consider how your personal style aligns with your long-term aspirations and the image that you want to project to the world. Now, this new moon features the Pluto-Mars opposition, which is happening in your fourth and 10th house. And that shows certain type of tensions between your home life and your career or public image. You might feel pulled in opposite directions, or there could be power struggles playing out in both areas. It's a good time to find the balance between your personal and professional lives and to address any underlying issues that might be causing conflict. I think this Pluto-Mars opposition adds a layer of intensity to this new moon intention. You might feel a strong urge to transform your life and pursue your goals with passion, but it's important to be mindful of potential power struggles or conflicts that could arise. This is a time to harness your determination and drive, while also being aware of how your action impacts others. Obviously, Venus and Saturn conjunction in the 11th house. So, for example, you would like to set a goal, but maybe the workplace or your housing situation is putting some restrictions on you, or simply the family members are kind of like pressurizing you, which leads to certain type of power struggles. It sounds like you are feeling a strong pull between your personal ambition and external pressure. So this new moon is a powerful time to set intentions around finding the balance that honors both your individual needs and your responsibilities to others as well. Maybe simply you are considering to change a job, but they might not You might not feel supported by family members or family responsibilities, or simply you have got bills to pay. Um, and Mars actually conjuncts an asteroid called Pandora in your fourth house. And it could feel like that maybe you have got this strong desire for recognition or appreciation from your family members or in your home environment. And if that is not being met, it could lead to some tensions or conflicts. So this new moon might be even asking you to communicate your needs and find ways to feel more supported and celebrated in your personal life. And with that Mars Pandora conjunction, that could bring some unexpected revelations or surprises related to your home life or family dynamics. There might be some hidden talents or passions that are suddenly revealed by a family member, or perhaps some long buried issues that come to the surface. So it's time to be open to the unexpected and to embrace the potential for transformation in your personal life as well. By the way, this full moon is being opposed by Black Moon Lilith as well in the sign of Scorpio. And it brings a lot of intense emotions or power dynamics in your close relationships. There might be a desire for more freedom or independence within your partnerships, or perhaps some challenges related to intimacy or vulnerability. So it's time to also explore these themes and find balance between your own needs and the needs of others. Maybe simply because Taurus, you always want to be supported. And having this Pluto, Mars, Black Moon Lilith, all in cardinal signs, it really feels like that the problem here is that you are scared to initiate something new. You feel that you need to be making the change, but you might be unsure of how to go for it. And maybe we just need the support from the people that we love. Let's move on to Gemini rising sign. So, Gemini, you have got the new moon happening in your 12th house. And it shows that it's time to set intentions around deep introspection and connecting with your subconscious. You might be feeling more drawn to solitude and reflection. And it's a great opportunity to release any old patterns or beliefs that are holding you back. Maybe you need a bit more alone time lately. Whenever the 12th house gets activated, actually, it is a invitation to be alone, to kind of like not start a new projects around work and all this type of stuff. Nothing tangible, even though this is Taurus, but the 12th house is, I'm going to give you an example. For example, Jupiter transiting your 11th house, which is all about you made a lot of connections with others. But in the 12th house, we're going to have to sit down, reflect on these connections, and then looking at whether these are true friendships or not. Or in the 11th house, you are all about, yeah, kind of like boosting your business. In the 12th house, we're going to have to work on something else, or we're going to have to work on a little bit of a project. And then when Jupiter moves into the first, we're going to have to be able to kind of like release the product that we've created. So the 12th house is always a little bit about rest, looking at your personal desires, but also looking at, okay, what is going on in your work life? The reason why we have to do that is because this positive of this new moon, Venus, conjunct Saturn in the 10th house. And maybe you feel pressure or limitations in your career or public life. And maybe it's time for you to reassess your professional goals and making sure that they align with your values. And that's what you need to be reflecting on. What your talents are and what you want to do in the long run. That could be a question here. Now, this new moon features the Pluto Mars opposition as well. And Mars is in the third house, while Pluto is in the ninth house. And that might be bringing some tension in your social life. that might be bringing some tension about your own belief system, creating tension between your beliefs and your communication style. You might feel strongly about expressing your opinions, but there could be challenges in getting your message across effectively. So it's a time to be mindful of how you communicate, how you ensure your words align with your values. And with Pluto in the ninth house of beliefs and Mars in the third house of communication, you might feel this very strong urge to express your opinions and ideas, but also the fear of the potential consequences. So be mindful about the words that you use because it can easily lead to power struggles, huge arguments as well. Now, Mars conjuncts Pandora in your third house. So you have got this strong urge to communicate not only your ideas and opinions, but what if I reveal my own fears? What's going to be the potential consequences of those? And of course, this new moon is very much focusing on the subconscious mind. So you've got a lot of thinking to do. And Pluto wants you to be open towards different perspectives, new ideas. And with that Pluto, Pandora, it's kind of like really unleashing something in a very brutal way. And we might be very afraid of the consequences. What if I'm going to be actually revealing what my true opinion is? Um, Now, actually, Black Moon Lilith in the sixth house is opposing this new moon from the sixth house, and that could bring up some intense emotions or power struggles related to your daily routines and habits as well. Taurus is very habitual anyway. You might feel this very strong desire for freedom and independence in your work life, but there could be challenges in balancing your personal needs with your responsibilities. I think it's all about honoring both your desire for autonomy as well as your commitments to your daily life. Simply, this could talk to you about with the new moon that you are about to set intentions around health, around routines, around work-related situations, because of course the dispositor Venus is in the 10th house, but it feels really intense, or maybe you don't have the right motivation. And Pluto Mars would like you to rethink your motivation as well. Cancer rising sign. So the new moon is taking place in your 11th house. So it's time to set intentions around friendships, social connections, as well as long-term goals. You might feel a desire to expand your social circle or to get involved in new communities. You might have started feeling a shift in your friendships lately as well. Now, the ruler of this new moon is Venus, conjunct Saturn in the ninth house. And that brings a focus to your beliefs and values and how you relate to your social connections. You might be drawn to friendships with people who share your philosophical or spiritual outlook on life. Or you could be taking a more serious look at your long-term goals and how you align with your personal beliefs. Now, this new moon features the Pluto-Mars opposition as well in your second and eighth house. And that could create some tension between your personal values and your shared resources or intimate connections. You might feel strongly about your financial security, but there could be struggles related to shared finances or even investment as well. It's time to find the balance between your own needs and the needs of others in your close relationships. I mean, with the new moon in the 11th house, which represents your long-term goals, and with the second house, it has got to do something with your own money and finances. So it can feel like that you don't have the money to accomplish your long-term goals, or simply we might feel that we don't have the talent to do that. So again, it's very possible that you are worried about not having the financial resources or talents to achieve goals and ambitions. And maybe we're going to have to be exploring or finding creative solutions to these. And maybe, maybe, you need to be doing some brainstorming with Venus and Saturn conjunction in the 10th house of how to reframe your way of thinking around money, around self-worth, around love and intimacy as well. Saturn is not necessarily the planet of reframing, but it does represent the frames. And Pluto is more to do with reframing something. Now, with Pluto in Aquarius, can definitely make us more aware of our societal trends and how they might be impacting our own self-worth. So it's also time to examine any fears or limitations you are feeling around talents, finances, finding your own financial blockages and breaking free from these patterns. And it also can make us somehow upset that maybe we see our friends thriving with the new moon in the 11th house, of course. And, with Taurus, we tend to be comparing ourselves to others. So, especially with social media, making it so visible, remember, everyone's journey is different, and true success comes from within. Maybe we can explore some strategies for focusing on your own path and celebrating your unique talents and achievements. Because Mars in Leo wants to celebrate. With a Mars conjunct Pandora in your second house could bring some unexpected revelations or surprises related to your finances or personal values. You might discover hidden talents or resources, or perhaps uncover some long buried beliefs about money. It's time to be open to unexpected and embrace the potential for transformation in your financial life. Maybe with Mars in Leo, we've got the tendency to jump into a financial opportunity. And Pandora, we might be releasing something that is a little bit more on the heavier side. Maybe you want to take like with Pandora Mars, you want to take risks and pursue something super exciting, which feels like it might be boosting your ego and sense of self-worth. But you need to be aware of pitfalls as well. Because with Pandora, we release the bad stuff from that box and only hopes remain. But also the hope that we have got a talent might be also a message for you as well. Now, this full moon is being opposed by Black Moon Lilith in the fifth house. And that could bring up some intense emotions or even power struggles related to your creativity and self-expression. You might feel a strong desire for freedom and authenticity in your creative pursuits, but there could be challenges in balancing your own needs with the needs of others. It's a time to explore these things and find a way to honor these creative expressions, and maybe also remembering that celebration, talents of or expressing who we are doesn't always need a huge amount of money. And maybe that's the blockage that you've got here. And with Black Moon Lilith, we often feel outcasted, we feel rejected. So maybe you are afraid of putting something out there to the public with the new moon in the 11th house. Because what if we're going to come across as a con artist? What if we are going to be ridiculed, laughed at, or simply the product that I've created is going to get rejected? So there is definitely this unique creativity that you need to be exploring, but not being good enough and being rejected could be something that is super scary for you. Leo rising sign. So this new moon is taking place in your 10th house. Time to focus on your career, on your public image, also your long-term ambitions. You might be feeling a strong desire for recognition or success in your professional life, for example. And with the ruler of the new moon, Venus, conjuncting Saturn in the eighth house, could talk to you about some tension between your personal desires, your career goals, but maybe there are some subconscious fears or even beliefs that are holding you back from fully embracing those ambitions. So we need to be exploring these feelings around insecurities and finding ways to work them through. Maybe some power struggles that might be going down at work, and then you are contemplating about leaving it behind or just simply giving up on this business and starting fresh. You might be feeling some, that basically you are afraid of making this change. Simply because what if I'm going to fail? Now, this new moon features the Pluto-Mars opposition as well in your first and seventh house. And this opposition could create some tension between your own desires and your relationship with others. Maybe it's all about independence for you, but there could be power struggles or conflicts, or feeling pressured by Pluto, by a partner, a business partner. So we're going to have to find the balance here of who we are and how much we follow the herd, basically. With it could talk to you about a competitor because the new moon is in the 10th house, which is work and the public. And with Pluto in the seventh house, maybe we've got this competition popping up, and we might be afraid that we are unable to beat them. And surely Mars in Leo wants a lot of success. And maybe we're just gonna have to be able to put the boxing glove on and then beating the crap out of the competition. And with Mars conjunct Pandora in your first house, you might feel this surge of energy and desire to take action, but there could also be some unexpected twists and turns along the way. This is an invitation, surely, that revealing of who you are, like truly, or revealing your own passion, is not a sin, but it might have got potential surprises or to it. Maybe we are simply afraid of being rejected or disowned if we reveal who we truly are. So this Mars and Pandora feels like we are living in a closet. We need to break out of it. And maybe Pluto pressurizes us like another person who is pushing us, forces us to reveal our plans, to reveal who we are. Authenticity is a keyword here, and the courage to step into your own power and to eliminate people who are trying to stop you from who you truly are. Now, this full moon is being opposed by Black Moon Lilith as well in your fourth house, which brings up some intense emotions. Maybe you don't feel recognized by family members. Maybe you've got all these insecurities going on around what career you potentially you know what you want, but all these elements of rejection and maybe living up to the standards of the society, I think it's a really big problem here. Maybe you feel that you're gonna get rejected by your country, your tribe, your family, or the people that you live together with if you reveal of who you are. Let's move on to Virgo rising sign. So, dear Virgo, this new moon is taking place in your ninth house. So it's time to focus on your beliefs, philosophy, higher learning. You might be feeling a desire to expand your horizon, expand new ideas, Maybe you feel drawn to a particular area of study or even travel. Now, the ruler of this new moon is Venus, who makes a conjunction to Saturn in your seventh house. And it brings focus to your relationship and partnerships and how you relate your beliefs and values connected to a partnership. So you might be doubting of your own relationship, or you might feel that you are not getting supported, or maybe we are not on the same philosophical or spiritual outlook with a particular person. And then you want to be looking at, like having a serious look at your, how you can align your opinion with the with people that you are surrounded by. And maybe you want to relocate to a new country, but the partner shows resistance. Maybe you have got to find new ways of incorporating new, like learning experiences. And potentially we can do that into our daily life. Because Saturn and Venus can talk to us about not feeling loved or not feeling supported. And with the new moon in the ninth house, which is the house of publishing. So this could be potentially talking to us about that somehow you don't feel supported by others. Um, Maybe you are worried about not being accepted if you publish something. Now, this new moon features Mars and Pluto opposition in your 12 and 6th house. So Mars is in the 12 and Pluto is in the 6th. So this could be talking to you about a tension between your subconscious mind and your daily routines. You might feel this strong urge to escape from your responsibilities, but maybe some conflicts in your work environment that pops up with this. Mars is very interesting in the 12th house in Leo because Mars in Leo wants to be seen, wants to be celebrated. But the 12th house is asking us to be alone, to be doing some reflections, to retreat, to walk away from parties, to walk away from this attention seeking behavior. So maybe one of the question is, why do I need to be in the spotlight all the time? And of course, with Saturn and Venus conjunction in your seventh, you want to be seen by others, but it's limited. And Pluto is like a pressure cooker. So it could feel like that the work is actually pressurizing me to be out there, to be visible. But the 12th house wants to do contemplation and reflection. So you might be feeling this um, being torn to be in solitude, but the demands of your work life as well. Like Mars in Leo wants to go on holiday, but I've got so much work to do, and maybe another colleague of yours is on holiday, and then you cannot go on this long deserved holiday, pretty much. Now, Mars conjuncts Pandora as well in your 12th house. And surely it looks like that somehow subconscious anger is kind of like getting unleashed here. And with Pluto, maybe it's connected to work. So you might be lashing out on someone and then you really put them in place. But also remember with Pandora, we always have got to pay the price as well. So it does bring twists and turns. And with Mars in Leo, it's all about bravery. And what does it cost to be brave? That would be a question because our actions have got a price. And with Pluto, it just wants to destroy that box of Pandora. You know, it might be telling us that there is no point in opening up. Let's just walk away from it. And I would also say that you might be afraid of unlocking these subconscious fears. How is that going to affect me? So we can be afraid of what happens if I go down on a spiritual road, for example. You can be scared to death of what you are going to be exploring. Because with the new moon in the ninth house, you do a lot of exploration. And with Mars in the 12th, it's all about your subconscious mind. Let's move on to Libra rising sign. So for you, Libra, this new moon is going to be taking place in the eighth house, which is the house of shared resources, psychological complexes, sometimes crisis situations in life as well. And this house also something to do with sharing and receiving. Because you are Libra, you are all about harmony and peace. And maybe it's time to discover certain things that are actually out of balance, something that you might not be able to control, something that you might experience as something that is putting you out of balance. It might be something that is exhausting for you. It really feels like that this new moon is trying to remind you that peace is something that you might want to create because Taurus is the sign of creation and the eighth house is also something to do with stability, but often it's about financial stability that we need to be able to create. Now, of course, once we have got the clarity about things that we are afraid of, something we are aware of that maybe something feels off, kind of like in relationships and so forth, then we are going to be able to create boundaries. We are going to be able to work on it, fix it, maintain it, and improve it. The improvement comes from the fact that Venus is in the sixth house and it's connected with Saturn, which is the planet of work. So you're going to have to be able to create certain type of boundaries. Maybe sometimes you're going to have to be able to speak your own truth as well, even though if it's something that you might be extremely afraid of. And also with the eighth house, sometimes it's just going to have to let go of something that doesn't work in our lives anymore. Often, what happens with the sixth house is that we are trying to fix something that is actually not broken. Maybe we just need to be walking away from it. Maybe we are trying to hold on to something that is maybe outdated with Saturn. And that could be something to kind of consider here. Okay. Now, the new moon is actually featuring a very important constellation as well, and that's going to be the Mars and Pluto opposition. And Mars is in your 11th house, and Pluto is in your 5th house. So it could feel like, for example, that because we've got a T square happening with the new moon is taking place in 7 degrees. So it is um, basically it's reactivating the entire Mars and Pluto opposition, which have been going on for a while, since November, basically. So this could really talk to you about that with that Mars. You would like to be appreciated. You would like to be celebrated. You would like to be seen, to be applauded, to be maybe you even want to take a long-term project, for example, forward. But somehow Pluto is telling us that we might not be able to do that. Maybe because you don't have the courage. Maybe it's because you are afraid of expressing who you are. Maybe you don't even know that you have got certain type of talents, for example. And of course, it's super important that you are going to be discovering those. Without that, it's impossible to be in the limelight. And this Pluto Mars is inviting you to be in the limelight. The importance of being seen. And do you have this internal conflict about wanting to be seen as well as wanting to be maybe sometimes a little bit more private as well? Potentially, this Pluto Mars opposition could talk to you about having an argument as well with a friend of yours or with someone that who used to support you and motivate you, but maybe it feels like that this person doesn't motivate you anymore. Now, the other thing that I would like to mention to you is that we've got Mars in connection to Pandora. And Pandora is all about opening up that box that has got sins. So maybe you get angry and frustrated, for example, about potentially a friend of yours who reveals a secret about you. And maybe it's more to do with private secret, more to do with something that you don't appreciate being talked about. And I would say that you're gonna have to let the person know. But also, maybe you are finding some beneficial people to take action with. Maybe it's collaboration. Maybe it's a start of a business. Maybe it's something that you are looking for. Like you are looking for inspirations. You are looking for something that is going to inspire you. And of course, the 11th house is something to do with groups as well. So this could talk to you about that because it's connected to vocational calls, that you are thinking about maybe doing something creative as well. Maybe you are thinking about changing your career, changing your vocation, putting yourself out there, or maybe you are just scared to face the public somehow. Okay, let's move on to Scorpio rising sign. So, dear Scorpio, first of all, we've got the new moon happening in your seventh house, which is the house of relationship. And during new moons, it's a really good idea to set intentions around what you would like to achieve, for example, with others. Maybe it's time for you to explore something to do with intimacy or something to do with sexuality, because the dispositor of this new moon is Venus being in the fifth house. Maybe you just want to know whether your partner is loyal to you. Maybe actually you actually want to be a little bit away from your relationship as well, because something might be suffocating or a little bit overbearing. And that would be coming from the Venus and Saturn conjunction as well. Or you might feel like testing your partner, whether the partner can be controlled, or maybe you are getting tired of being controlled by others as well. But also, it's simply just craving for safety within your relationship. You want to be supported and you want to be, in a way, feeling that you are, you've got a pillar, you've got a shoulder to cry on if it's needed. And of course, it's all about having that closeness, that togetherness. If you are single, why am I not able to let someone close to me? Why am I trying to keep myself safe from others? And maybe we're going to have to be able to come from that. And because this new moon is being opposed by Black Moon if in your first house, simply this could be about a fear of rejection, the fear of that you have to be protecting who you are. Now, of course, this is going to be highly talking to you about your romantic life with Venus in the fifth house as well. And there is definitely Venus is yearning to be connected on a soul level with someone, but it's in the house of fun. So maybe I'm contemplating between having fun with others as well as getting serious, for example, in the relationship, getting real. You can get tired of just being kind of like the doormat of others or being a booty call, for example, and I want something more. Now, this new moon actually features the Mars and Pluto opposition as well. And you have got Mars in the 10th house, and that's the place of career. So that's something to do with publicity, how you are seen, how you are recognized for all your efforts. What is my role in the world? How brave I am to put something out there publicly, maybe sharing something about myself that I used to be very afraid of. The reason why, because Mars is the ruler of Scorpio. And I would say with Mars being in the fourth house, sorry, the 10th house, there is that desire to act on your career. But Pluto says, oh, hold on a minute. We've got something happening here, making this huge change. I'm scared of it. Maybe it's also possible that the leadership is actually changing, for example, in your company, or there are certain type of conflicts, potentially with parents or authority figures, or maybe someone is actually pushing you to take on more, like more responsibilities, more work, maybe taking on a project. And obviously, it's very hard for Mars in Leo to put that aside because at the end of the day, it's all about pride and I can do whatever I want. Now, Mars is actually in conjunction to Pandora. And Pandora is all about opening the box and letting the scenes out. So you can even be afraid that you don't have the skills, or you might make a mistake within your career. And what if I'm going to be losing my job over that? Okay, let's move on to Sagittarius rising sign. So, dear Sagittarius, you've got the new moon happening in your sixth house, which is the house of routines, which is also about workplace. Maybe you feel tired. Maybe you need a bit of a rest. Maybe you are burnt out. Maybe you're running out of your energy level. And this is the reason why sometimes we're going to have to rest a little bit. We're going to have to pace out how we do certain type of things. We're going to have to ground our physical energy. Maybe this new moon is a great time for you to look at your habits, your rituals, and even your medical condition as well. Maybe have this idea that, I don't know, Sundays, I'm going to switch off the phone. I'm going to be resting. Have an intention about how you can improve your physical body. I think listening to your body is going to be highly important with this. How to support the body. You know, sometimes you just need this, I don't know, something for your back. For example, I do have got back problems since Mars went into my sixth house. I know it's not for you, but with the sixth house, you know, it's important that you somehow practice self-care or on a daily basis. So I brought this, you know, gym belt, for example, which is hopefully going to be helping me, you know, to keep the back in place. So now the dispositor of this new moon is actually Venus, who has got a conjunction to Saturn in the fourth house. So this could talk to you about that. What is heavy here for you is actually something to do with a member of the family. Maybe what makes you tired is that you have to kind of juggle between work, making money, taking care of your parents, looking after a property, and all those type of stuff. But also potentially this could talk to you about that you are worried, sixth house, about the health situation of a parent, which is the fourth house. Now, this new moon is actually featuring the Mars and Pluto opposition as well. Now, Mars is in your ninth house, which is the representation of your belief system, something that you are convicted about, your philosophy, the teachers that you meet. It's about higher learning, religion, travel, spirituality, and so forth. One of the things that I would like to mention with the ninth house, that whenever you have got a ninth house transit, you have to learn about the planet. So with Mars, you're going to have to learn about courage. You're going to have to learn about bravery and taking risks and being an unapologetic version of yourself. Yes, you might be getting into conflicts with teachers, or you are trying to protect your opinion, your ideology, your spiritual belief system, and then someone is pushing back, maybe on social media, or someone exactly does the same, and then you are trying to defend your own truth. You know, to get triggered by the beliefs of others, maybe sometimes the good stuff is that I'm just going to walk away from it. But if I feel like that I'm right, I'm going to have to be able to stand up for my own belief systems. I'm going to have to go on a new adventure. I'm going to have to learn something new. Maybe it's all about a desire to be in a foreign country, to visit a foreign country where the religious or the philosophical belief systems are a lot better. And simply, you might feel this desire to take on new courses. But maybe there is hesitation about what to learn because Mars in Leo might have got the idea of what to do, but Pluto in Aquarius, let me just follow the herd and go with your own instincts. Most likely, that's just going to be very important. Maybe also you're going to have to be exploring the topic of power. The power in holding a course, teaching, studying something, and so forth. And you never know what door you are going to open for yourself because Mars has got a conjunction to Pandora. And Pandora, even though, released all these sins and the ill and so forth, but there was hope there. So there is a hope that they're gonna take you on, for example, on a course that you have wanted to do. And maybe don't listen to the opinions of others, that you don't have a chance for that. Okay, let's move on to Capricorn rising sign. So, dear Capricorn, we've got the new moon happening in your fifth house, which is your creativity, your inner child. Maybe simply it's a promise that you have to make that you're going to have a little bit more fun. Maybe sometimes it's all about putting your responsibilities aside. Maybe it's just remembering with the moon there that it's such a good thing to be a child, to have a laughter, to joke around. This is telling you that basically longevity depends on the amount of joy and fun that you do in life. And sometimes you're going to have that puppy love as well, right? So maybe we can enjoy our time together with a partner of ours, with our children, for example. It's kind of like remembering that the children do grow up really quickly. And then we might want to go back and then wanting to be a child again. I think this is telling you to give yourself the permission to be you, that you have got the right to have fun, and also, don't care about being rejected by the society, friends, groups of people, because this new moon is being opposed by Black Moon Lilith, the asteroid of rejection in the 11th house. Being a fun person doesn't make you less than others who might be working extremely hard. It's kind of like you go on holiday and then they question, where do you have the money from and how can you afford that? It's none of your business. Remember to enjoy life to the fullest. Now, this new moon features the Pluto-Mars opposition as well. And Mars is actually in your eighth house, the house of shared resources, and then Pluto is in the second house. Maybe this could be, kind of like an internal struggle of wanting to go on a holiday, wanting to spend the money on it. But, ooh, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit tight and so forth. So we start kind of like questioning what to do with this. And also, the second and the eighth house is all about exchange, things physically, emotionally, as well as financially. So it could feel like that physically, emotionally, or financially, maybe I put so much into a relationship, into, for example, potentially to have a dialogue with someone, to have this conversations because of this positive of this new moon is Venus being in the third house. But it could feel like that you are getting pushed back. You are not getting the support. And this is getting somehow mirrored for you. And this might be leading to conflict. And even there could be conflicts about contracts. There could be conflicts about something that has been said and done. For example, in the past, because Venus conjuncts Saturn as well. And maybe something like we are having a little bit of an argument over old financial situations. Maybe simply all you want is just a little bit of a respect of like how they use your belongings, not just like kicking things around and so forth. And of course, you might want the partner to be more financially responsible or kind of like helping you paying off the obligations, the karmic obligations as well, or debts. In a way, there is an imbalance here of what I receive and what I give. And which end does that happen? That is a different question there. And it looks like with Mars and Pandora conjunction, it's really difficult to kind of hold back anymore. Once this anger is getting released or unleashed, then we might be pouring that onto others. So this is also telling us to be a slightly bit careful with what we do with our angers. And of course, there's a lot of intimacy going on in the chart as well. So maybe the frustration is around, that your partner is childlike, or we don't have enough fun, or the sex is not working in the bestest way. Let's move on to Aquarius. Oh, I'm moving dates. That's why it's not moving. So let me just go by hours. Aquarius rising sign. So for you, Aquarius, we've got the new moon happening in your fourth house, which is pretty much potentially about the creation of a new home life, for example. But also, this is somehow about evolving. What does home mean to you? What provides you security? What makes you feel safe? And you might be questioning the safety of your home life, for example. Maybe you are questioning whether you are at the right place. Do I want to live here? What do I want to do within my living space? Or what do I do? What do I want to do with my family? Because maybe the family doesn't make you feel safe. Maybe the family doesn't allow you to breathe. You're going to have to start thinking about what grounds you, what, who do I belong to? Am I a part of a tribe? Do I want to be in this country? Do I feel like, it's me, it's part of me? And also looking at your own emotional foundation. You're going to have to be able to reflect on that. Now, the dispositor of this new moon is Venus, who makes a conjunction to Saturn in your second house. So this might be, for example, the expectation of receiving good money for your property that you sold, but unfortunately, this might be less than you expected. This could talk to you about somehow worries about your finances and having to work out ways of actually boosting that. Maybe it's the realization that I can put a lot more effort, for example, in properties or into family businesses and so forth, to create more income. But this new moon also features the Pluto-Mars opposition as well, which is happening in your seventh and eighth house. Well, you know what? Somehow this Mars is bringing up the topic of conflicts with a potential partner. Maybe this partner keeps coming to your home. Maybe it's an ex. Maybe it's been going on for a very long time. Potentially, this could be even an indication that you are unsure about whether you want to live together with this person or not. Maybe you are unsure whether this relationship is growing or I can actually trust the person. Now, that's a possibility as well. Maybe someone is trying to force you to make a decision about something, and maybe it's a family member. Maybe you are forced to act on a certain type of a partnership or about changes that we want to make, for example, in the home environment, and we might not be able to see eye to eye. Maybe simply this is about trying to figure out what type of changes you need to make to feel better in your own skin. Maybe someone is forcing you to look into the mirror, you know. Maybe it's just revealing to you that you are not doing enough. And that is kind of like shaking up the core of your own. And you know what? Sometimes you need to be careful because with Pluto, sorry, with Mars and Pandora conjunction, someone can say something that is really hurtful. And the intention behind it might be good, but once we unleash something which is uncontrollable, it becomes really tough to maintain. And last but not least, Pisces rising sign. So you have got the new moon happening in your third house. You've got a busy mind, I guess. You are thinking about the past potentially. You are thinking about even the future, what to do, how to promote yourself, how to make money. So it looks like that you are doing a lot of brainstorming. Now you can be doing the brainstorming with others, or simply you can be doing the brainstorming with within yourself as well, or even something technological, AI and Gemini and all this type of stuff. And it looks like that you need certain type of a mental clarity. And sometimes, even with Taurus, we have to just listen to our intuition. Now, the intuition comes from the fact that Venus, the dispositor of this new moon, is in Pisces in the first house. Maybe this is telling you to listen to your body, to talk to your body. Health issues could be a topic for you, unfortunately, Pisces, because you do have got this Pluto-Mars opposition as well. Maybe with that new moon, you're just gonna have to be able to write things down, speak to someone, or realizing that your voice is actually super powerful. Obviously, the third house represents movement as well. So you might have been kind of like, sluggish with your movements. But be careful because Pluto Mars opposition in your 6th and 12th house could also indicate that you are trying to do too much. You are pushing yourself to the limit, or someone is pushing you to the limit. It's very interesting because I do have backache problems for quite a few months now. And I started really feeling it since Mars went back into the 6th house and the Saturn Venus conjunction started to get closer. And Saturn is the back. And it's just, kind of like a little bit of a pep talk to myself as well that I need to be able to kind of slow down a little bit. Um, or if we are lazy, then we are meant to be pushing ourselves a little bit further. And that could be a work scenario as well, though, because the 6th house is work, labor, but the completion of something as well to a certain extent, because we want the job to be done. So I would say that maybe, you have taken on too many projects. You are trying to burn the candle at both ends. Maybe I just keep wanting to work all day long. Or maybe we are lacking the motivations to work as well. Because at the end of the day, this is a new moon in Taurus, and sometimes Taurus wants to rest. Maybe work has become exhausting. Maybe there are so many things, issues that needs fixing. And maybe that Taurus says, but sometimes you just have to put things aside, right? Think them through, even prioritize them. And this could, of course, represent conflicts with coworkers, but also this could bring people together to tackle obstacles. Like, let's do them together. Let's grow together as well. That could be the positive side of it. Because often Pluto in Aquarius reminds us that taking action alone or taking action together with others and to bring success into our life, sometimes togetherness is actually easier. Maybe also you have to look at whether you are dedicated enough. What makes you feel tired? What makes you feel drained, exhausted? Because maybe we need to eliminate those as well out of our lifestyle. So there is a need here to change something. I do 2 sport sessions a day. So I guess one of the problem is that I'm gonna have to cut it back. I just don't know which one to choose because I love the boxing and I love the weightlifting as well. So I'm gonna have to kind of be smart about it. Maybe I'm going to do one each day, and then just rotate. That's my plan at the moment. Okay, guys, so this is the new moon forecast for all 12 signs, and I will see you shortly. Bye-bye.